remind everybody, 1% of the wealthy, the top 1%, pay 48% of the taxes for New York.
And how many of them will leave if he's elected?
At least 90%. I mean, maybe I'm exaggerating.
If he is elected, would you leave New York City?
I'm not going to pay taxes in New York City. We'll move our corporate offices to maybe New Jersey.
So, Mark, if people like John Katz leave and his other friends in business leave, New York will lose its tax base. The city will undoubtedly go bankrupt the same way it did in the late 1970s. And frankly, I don't think Donald Trump is going to bail it out.
Yeah, so New Yorkers clearly don't want Mamdani. He's got 37% of the vote. His opponents collectively have like 53. So it's just that they can't. It's just that the opponents are so unattractive.
But unfortunately, we know that Mamdani was elected. Okay, so these people in New York, I don't know what they were thinking, but they elected Mamdani, and he is failing already. All right, the first thing that he did was to remove anti-Semitism protections. He promised free rent, free buses. What happened day one? They had a fare increase on the bus. They just recently had an increase from 5%, I think, to 7% on the rent hikes. Okay, now you have people dying in New York City and a mass exodus of billionaires leaving. But not only New York City, we have it in California as well.
Mark Zuckerberg could be the latest California billionaire to land in Florida. The Wall Street Journal reporting the Meta CEO bought a waterfront mansion in the Sunshine State and plans to move by April. Zuckerberg is among the latest of the ultra-wealthy fleeing California as state lawmakers threaten a massive wealth tax. And Florida real estate agents are telling the Journal they've been working nonstop showing properties to Californians since the new tax was proposed. So I picked this story for you, Jackie, because it's Mark Zuckerberg, and he's moving to Florida. He's just...
Well, he's a Republican now.
That's right. Should Florida just be embraced? Do you think this means the whole Meta, conglomeration is going to shift its center of gravity down to Florida? Is that what this means? Is this a business move out of California?
I don't know, but the hypocrite himself wants to take advantage of the opportunities in Florida, so he is going there. You know how I feel about him. He went as left and far left as the left go, and then all of a sudden he did an about face. Now, some people think that's genuine. I personally don't, but that is my humble opinion. I'm not surprised by this at all, but I think that, all eyes, for example, are on this trial right now. What did Meta know? What did Mark Zuckerberg know with respect to children, problems that were occurring on their application, content that was on there that spurred issues for people that are, devastating. So I'm curious to see what happens with him, but I'm not surprised at all to see him trying to work the system.
His new neighbors, Dagan, in...
You don't need to I know who they are.
Tell us who they are.
Bezos and his wife.
That's
Carl
right.
Icahn.
Yes, sir.
Ivanka and Jared live on that island. Tom Brady.
That I do not know.
Yep.
Tom Brady does.
Tom Brady does. He got the house when he busted up with Giselle.
And now Zuckerberg. So a nice neighborhood, a good barbecue in the neighborhood potentially.
If I had the money, I would not buy on that island. It's just bless you.
Thank you.
It's just a enclave in and of itself. It's very fancy. Go look at it on Google Satellite. You have to be potentially, depends on the way this law is written, you had to be out of California, I think, before January 1.
Oh, to miss the tax.
It's retroactive,
Which
is wild.
Potentially.
Legally, we can talk about legality.
Okay, but Zuckerberg and his ilk, like a Bezos, they have so much money that they have homes everywhere.
Yeah.
They have assets, like hard assets, real estate and properties everywhere. So he's buying this thing.
Can I just say one thing? I also think he's just keeping up with the Joneses, given the list of other inhabitants of the island that you mentioned. There's part of me that thinks he just wants to be there because Bezos and who are there, and Tom Brady and the Kushners. And
I hope they actually really move. Because I'm going to sound like you, suck him dry.
Yeah, this is the most interesting thing for me, though. I didn't think there was
dry.
anyone that disliked Mark Zuckerberg more than me, but I met.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not
So
there.
I've never been a fan of him, but here's the interesting thing. Him and his wife have pledged all their wealth to give it to charity, right? 9%. think about what they're saying now. We're going to leave California because we don't want to give the money to the state government. I think
that's how bad the government
That's how bad it is. So this
Yep.
is, by my count, the 7th billionaire that has left California, accounting for upwards of $800 to $900 billion worth of wealth. Total billionaires in California is about 180 to 190 with 1.3 trillion. So there is a mass exodus. We told you this was going to happen. All of us said this when this first came about.
It's funny that a lot of these billionaires are moving to Florida. As far left as Mark Zuckerberg may have been or may be, he is no dummy when it comes to money. He understands that if he were to stay in California, half of his income would go to the state. The same state, I remind you, that didn't even have water in the water towers to put out those mass fires that they had. And they still haven't given permits to all of the Californians that have lost their properties because of those fires to be able to rebuild. Okay, but Mark Zuckerberg is not the first one to leave. It seems at least 7 billionaires have left the state before him. And with Donald Trump withholding federal funds from Democratic states like this, the other residents are left holding the ball. Meanwhile, in New York City, Mayor Mondami insists on adding another 2% income tax on billionaires, like they don't have the ability to move wherever they want to move in the country or even out of the country. But let's hear what some people have to say about this.
On the city tax, though, and I know that takes effect with people right now, that top rate of people of 50,000 or more. So if you're going to be adding 2% to people at $1 million, that I just did the math, right? Well, but that's going to be an increase of 51% of what they pay now. I'm not saying cry for them. I'm saying if they leave, you're not going to get that money. And when you increase someone's taxes by 51%, aren't a lot of people going to leave?
We're saying we're increasing it by 2% of what it is right now. And
He doesn't
ultimately,
understand the
I'm
math.
guided by the facts. The Fiscal Policy Institute did an analysis of the top 1% of New Yorkers and found that they leave the city at 1/4 the rate of other income categories. And when they do leave, they leave to what are called high tax states, New Jersey, California. So what it then comes down to is, why are they leaving? Is it fiscal policy or is it actually quality of life? And I've heard that time and again from wealthier New Yorkers, from all New Yorkers.
So it's talk. They're going to go to Florida and all you think is talk.
In 2021, when I came to the state assembly, we had the same fight to fund public schools, to raise taxes on billionaires and corporations. We were told millionaires would flee.
Yep.
And we now have more millionaires.
Okay, so the New York Times is saying that Mayor Adams is trying to gather business leaders to support him, to say this is going to be bad. And Bill Ackman, billionaire hedge fund manager, of course you know of him, New Yorker, he said he agrees with you that the city's broken, okay, but he has a real problem with your economic policies. He said the ability for New York City to offer services for the poor and needy, let alone the average New Yorker, is entirely dependent on New York City being a business-friendly environment and a place where wealthy residents are willing to spend 183 days, the amount you need to be taxed, and assume the associated tax burden. Unfortunately, both have already started making arrangements for the exits. So you just think that that isn't going to add up. And by the way, that corporate tax rate that you're talking about, that's a big increase.
That's matching 7.25% going to 11.5%. And the point of it is that if it works for our regional neighbor, why can't it work for us? And
This guy is delusional. He said from 7.5% to 11%. You're talking a ridiculous tax increase. I don't care how much money I had, I would not be paying that, especially since you already have a $12 billion deficit. Come on, man.
clearly, money is not an issue. And ultimately, even for him, life would get better. Because what I'm looking to use this money for is to make the quality of life across the city better.
Okay, he's not alone. There are a lot like him, whether it's Ken Griffin or CEOs of big banks. Would you meet with them?
I'll meet with anyone. I will meet with them and I'll explain why I believe in the necessity of raising the top corporate tax rate. And I'd also tell Bill Ackman that I firmly disagree with his attempt to dismantle diversity, equity, and inclusion across the country, because it's not only against the morals of so many, it's also against the actual bottom line for so many businesses. And as a businessman, he should understand that.
Now, when you're running a city like New York and you don't have any experience, the least that you can do is to have experienced leaders in positions close to you that understand fiscal responsibility. Let's hear from Mondami's tenant advocate for housing, Siva Weaver.
What I am envisioning is a world in which the housing is owned by a collective and people are paying 30% of their income in order to live in their housing. If your income is zero, you pay zero. If your income is $500,000 a year, you're paying 30% of that. And the government is providing the sort of, the government is the sort of owner, or not even the owner. The government doesn't have to be the owner, but the government is what's making sure all of that sort of works in cash flows.
The debt to GDP ratio right now is the highest since World War II. So how can the federal government also afford to start subsidizing rental housing costs?
The federal government prints money. The federal government can provide money for them.
So by printing money?
Sure.
She said the government can just print money. Isn't that why we're in the position that we're in now? Because the government has been printing billions of dollars of money that's attached to nothing, not a gold standard, not any kind of metal, it's just paper. And because of that, we're in at least a $35 trillion deficit, a deficit that we really can't get out of because the interest itself is overbearing. Now, if you think that millionaires, billionaires are fleeing California the way that they are, wait until most of these people, most of these billionaires finished procuring what they want to procure in other states, in Tennessee and Florida, around the world, wherever they want to go, they are out of here. And what's going to happen to the residents of New York City? This is what you voted for, guys. This is what democratic socialism looks like. It's bad enough that Mondami can't even clean up the garbage. It seems he's not able to pay the sanitation workers the overtime that he needs to pay them so that they can pick up the garbage. We're, what, 2 weeks in after the snowstorm, and there's still garbage littering the streets of New York. All right, but let me know what you think about this. Do you think that more people are going to leave New York? Do you think that a lot of billionaires are going to leave democratic states like this? We've talked about California. We've talked about New York. What about Chicago? Chicago was Oprah town, but now with all of the people, the residents being taxed, and it's the lower income people that are being taxed right now to oblivion. Okay, a lot of the wealthy in Illinois know how to get out of that tax burden, but let's wait. Let's see what Brandon Johnson, whatever that guy's name, let's see what kind of laws he's going to implement. He'll probably follow his partners Newsom and Mondami in New York, and the billionaires over there will be taxed into oblivion. But let me know what you think about this. All right, and make sure you like, subscribe, and share. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.